The real answer to the question, what's the best form of finance to your business, is it depends on the stage of your business. The best form of finance for your business is sweat, work. Make a bit of money doing something else and plow that money into your business. The second best form of finance in your business is getting your suppliers to finance your business. So what is interesting today is when we buy a lot of entrepreneurial businesses or buy into them, we actually look for opportunities to create efficiencies with the supply chain. And it's what you do is you go to the suppliers and you say, please explain to me why if we're spending, in my country it'd be 10 million rand, what's that, 100 million Kenya shillings or thereabout. If we're spending 100 million Kenya shillings with you, why are we not getting a supply chain agreement? Why are we not paying you 90 days after you've given us the stock? Because 90 days after you've given us the stock gives us time to supply the stock, collect the capital, have the money sitting in the bank, earn some interest charge, and then only pay the supplier. And I'm happy to pay 2% if I'm late on a payment, because 2% is much easier if I'm earning a 40% multiple, a 40% growth profit on the product, right? So that is the second cheapest way to finance your business, is get your suppliers to take some of the risk with you. It's hard to do, I imagine, especially for small entrepreneurs. So often I say to them, find a backer. Find a backer. We all have an uncle. But find a backer, find an angel, find somebody who's willing to securitize the risk for you so that you can access those supply chains. And then the third is all the form we know about, which is go to the bank and raise the conventional loan. That's harder because the bank is going to look for a track record, they're going to do credit scoring, it's a long, laborious process. But the reason it's really, really hard, especially if you're a startup, is because you can't be certain of your cash flows. And yet the bank requires that you're certain of the cash flows because they need to earn interest charge off of the loan that they're going to give you. So those are the three, I think, at a high level. And I would say to entrepreneurs, try and go into each of those three depending on the situation of your business.
Initially, when I came up with a concept, my husband was the chief funder, and so we've been co-directors since the beginning. And then, you know, after development of the product and I needed to launch it, I realized that I needed about $200,000 then, maybe it was about 16 million shillings. And I had no idea where to get it from. They always say go first to friends and family. Not a lot of silver platters in my friends and family circles. So, and could you imagine how I went to banks and how many of them laughed me out of the door because I'm saying, hello, Mr. Bank Manager, here's my sample line. I need to mass produce this and so I need the money for that. And all they kept asking is, how much have you sold so far? And just could not understand that I'm coming to them with no history, no sales, and they just wouldn't get that concept. And we started talking to chamas, or investment groups, and we gave a lot of pitches. Thankfully, we had done all the groundwork by then, so we're just going to say we just need capital to mass produce this product. And we had all sorts of projections. You know, it's all about numbers. These guys, the sharks, ask a lot about numbers. So always having the numbers right and, you know, as much as you can. So we got 2 investment groups to invest in the concept. It was a concept at the time. And then through their influence as well, got a bank loan from Chase. So that was that. And since then, we're right now in our 3rd round of financing, which should very soon conclude. But it's always a very, I thought the first round was the most painful. No, the second round was more painful. And this 3rd round has been the most excruciating.
Just to share about, because I think Susie's story is totally different. For me, I want to speak to the common mwananchi. Yeah. I may not be in a chama that can give me millions of shillings. So for me, my story is quite different. I started I was everything. Since I went to college to do fashion, I started as a tailor, I'm everything, designer, tailor, accountant, all these things as myself. And given the fact that I'm in an industry that it is not perceived to be a profession, and it's very hard to sell as a profession, it's not easy. And then we look at it mostly, now the days of today, you look at it as a more of glam and fun, and it's not looked at as a source of income. But I decided to take it different from the time I started, to look at it as a business. It's been a long journey, it's 10 years right now. I'm not like Mora, who's took like 3 years. every story is different. So I totally feel that for me to encourage everybody, whatever you're doing, just do it. And I learned to just plow back what I have, because whenever I remember I went to Faulu, when those days, I was told I have to be in a group. And again, how often do you stay in a group? Probably you have to be in a group for 3 years for them to acknowledge that you can borrow money. So I said, since no one else can give me any money, any bank, they tell you, can we have your audited accounts? I haven't audited any accounts. So it was quite difficult. So I had to use what I had. I had 15,000 shillings. That's what I started with. Then when I started from the house was becoming a bit uncomfortable because I was using my children's bedroom to stitch. So it was the fitting room, bedroom, all those things. So it worked. So I felt now the business has little grown and I need my family because I'm a mother. So I figured out I need to look for an office space. And I started with a small office space, which I was paying 12,000 shillings a month. And it grew. So I kept plowing back. And by then, even opening an account, you had to have a signatory to enable you open an account. So I had to look for someone who has an account in a particular bank for me to open an account. So it was very difficult. It's not as now, it's quite a bit easy. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey. And for me, I honor God in what I do. Number two, my clientele, because they've built me. By God's grace, I had very good clients who are pushing me to the limits. Like they give you feedback, and I've also just put on my own brand every day of my life. 365 days a year, I wear my brand every single day.
Wow.
And because sometimes you don't have the money to do the marketing. So every single day I get a client. If I walk to the bank, I love your jacket. Where did you get that? I did it. Here's my card. If I'm walking somewhere, I love what you're wearing. How is it? Because out of experience and the challenges that I've faced, I want to push this thing. That's why I came with the Kenya Dongo Kenya brand. Why? Because I don't want to go to Paris or to London and call myself Mefa Creations. What is Mefa Creations? I'm an African. I love being Kenyan. And I had to put a Kenya Dongo Kenya. Buy it or live it. So,
fantastic.
And at the end of the day, it's also being proud of myself and being proud of what I'm doing.
The real challenge, and I think this is the challenge for us as entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs, is don't just think about the corner here. The world is our stage. And the only way we're going to transform this continent is if we begin to think in a global context.
I also wanted to add, this market, one would think that everyone thinks about international as superior. And that was one of my challenges in the beginning during my business plan. And they were like, no, but nobody's going to buy local. You're going to say it's a locally designed brand. That will mean nothing to Kenyans. I'm like, I really hope it will. I hope that's why they'll buy it. And that's why they have bought it.
Sometimes there is an experience you go through and you say, you know what, I'm never going to go back there. So you have this gut. Even when things are not looking good, what you do is you change what isn't working, is not give up. So God, I think, is also very important. I think Hilda talked about the fourth one, which Charles Hardy talked about. And I listened to this talk, what I'm telling you, I listened to it about 5 years ago. He talked about something called serendipity. You can do everything right, but then it doesn't work. It doesn't mean that you give up doing it. Completely. It just means that maybe your day hasn't come. And serendipity to me is luck. And for a lot of people, and even to myself, I think it's that faith you have in super being that defines things. So if you give yourself up to that super being that's saying, I'm doing the best I can, but I need another power somewhere that is helping me. I think that's important. My own addition is just one, integrity. I think you can look very successful. If there is no integrity in what you do, I call it an illusion of success. It'll look good. You can even get to the age of 60, people sing and talk about you, but all of it will come crashing down if it's not based on integrity, on doing what is right, on treating people fairly, on doing everything according to the rules.
Yeah, so that is one of the biggest challenge, finding the right talent, people who you can convince to come and walk with you in this journey. And by the way, sometimes you don't know even yourself whether it's gonna work. And that was me 3 years ago when I walked in iHub and I was looking for a technology expert who was going to be our CTO, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just believed in this thing so much, and I had to convince someone. And I remember when I was convincing him, his name is Sam, and I was telling him, you know what, I have this idea. And it's about empowering small businesses and changing the distribution in our country, bringing efficiency, empowering the businesses and helping them to grow. And he looked at me, and by the way, he's like 10 years older than me. And he looked at me and he's like, are you kidding me? I can't join you. You have no money, you have nothing. You just have an idea. And I am looking for stability. And I didn't stop there, and I told him, look, I am from the distribution industry. I worked for this company and I saw the problem, and I am here to convince you that if we do this together, then it will work out, and I promise you, I can already see the big picture, it's gonna work out. And of course, he didn't talk to me for a while, and I continued to push and show him that this thing was going to work because I was so passionate about it. And guess what? He joined me. But then that journey wasn't easy, convincing people who you believe and you see they have something that you don't have to come and complement you and work with you.